Hi, I'm Peter Breuninger, and we're about to do a long versus short tone arm test. Now, this has not been done before. We're using the best situation we possibly can. Same manufacturer, same tone arm wire, same cartridge, same turntable, same volume level, same LP, and we're doing this within a short period of time. So, let's get started. Here we go. Tri-Planar 12-inch versus the Tri-Planar 10-inch tone arm. Which do you prefer? Let's find out. Here we go. Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes of our test. Again, we've selected two arms from Tri-Planar. We have the long 12-inch, which is the U12 arm. We also have the U2 arm. Now there's an arm that sits in between these two that just came out that has got the same arm tube carbon fiber material as the U2. In this test we chose this arm, the U2, because of its effective mass is a little bit closer to the longer arm. The longer arm, the effective mass is 13 grams. The effective mass of the U2 is 11 grams. Now when you add carbon fiber, that's going to change the effective mass. So we want to try to get these as equal as possible in effective mass so we can really show and highlight the difference between a 10-inch arm and a 12-inch arm. Now we're going to use for our test today the Opus 1 cartridge. I want to thank Axis Distribution for the loan of the cartridge. Thank you. I want to thank Tri-My from Tri-Planar for the loan of the tone arms. We're going to be sitting azimuth with a FOS XTR. Now we'll set this off in between switchovers by adjusting the azimuth to the arm to the best null points we can on the XTR, and then we'll pull the XTR out. So we're effectively going to use it as a phosgometer but not keep it in the system. It's designed to stay in the system and to keep your azimuth and crosstalk perfectly aligned. For this test today we wanted to make it as pure as possible, the signal path from the tone arm wires down to the phono stage, from the phono stage up to the line stage. Now all of the Tri-Planar arms have either a black or a silver finish. The composite is, as the name suggests, it's a metallic material, base material with the wrap around it, and you'll see that it is a matte black in color. Every arm from Tri-Planar inside the tone arm is indeed damped. The arm tubes on both of all of the arms are annealed aluminum coaxial. Now the outer wrapping again on this arm is carbon fiber. Both arms share a damping trough. We're going to leave the damping trough empty for today's test so we don't have different levels of damping fluid to throw off our test. The hard part of doing a tone arm test back and forth is getting the exact setup the same for this arm and for this arm, and aligning the cartridge as close as possible and setting the offset angle as similar as possible. With that, we have tools from Tri-Planar. We have setup jigs for the 12-inch arm, and we have a setup jig for the 10-inch arm. All Tri-Planar arms are gimbal bearing. They have a progressive anti-skate, which means the more up it is over here, more it pulls down. As it moves across the arc of the LP, the anti-skate increases. They have 3 easy screw installation for each of the arms. And they have a real sophisticated system of decoupled counterweights, and it's back here. So if I twist this around, these are actually decoupled from the arm itself in the silicone type material, so when you slip them in and slip them out, that you don't have the metal to metal that you would normally have. So to begin the test, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the 12-inch arm. We've been using the 12-inch arm for the Triangle Art review and for the Brio Trio review on the concerto turntable from Triangle Art. We were using the Apollo cartridge from Triangle Art, but again today we're going to be using the Opus 1 from Axis. Okay, we're going to get started on this, and then we're going to switch this arm out, swap in the 10-inch arm. We're going to do a quick listen because the arm is from Tri-Planar. I thought we would use Treetops from Anne Besson. Kind of goes along with the name of the arms. So let's begin swapping the arms out. I'll switch this over once I have this arm fully installed and set up, and then we're going to sit down and we're going to compare the sound of the short version, the 10-inch arm, to the longer version. Again, trying to keep the effective masses as similar as we can. And we have a 2-gram difference between the arms, so it's not perfect. And again, with setting up a cartridge, you cannot set up a cartridge identically each time. It's almost impossible. Even with your XTR, you're going to have slight variations as the needle tracks across and comes back and forth. As temperature changes in the room, you're going to have slight azimuth changes, which is going to give you minuscule crosstalk variation. We're going to try to minimize that as best we can by doing this all in one session. So as we start to do the switch, I'm going to hurry myself through so that the temperature in the room doesn't change and the barometric pressure doesn't change outside. So this is being done in one session. So let's start. Here we go. Okay, I've removed the 12-inch arm from the Triangle Art mounting platform. We'll move it here, away, and down. To further the equality of the test, both arms use the same Tonearm cable, so that will help us in making this a more reasonable test. And this is the third one. Get that nice and snug. Okay. Now I usually put the wires on first, but I felt confident today because the cartridge, as you can see, it's very easy to attach the wires here, which we'll now do. green. Spin it into position. Now we're going to double check the positioning of the arm to the 3 markings on the jig. Now because the arm is a shorter arm, it's going to be much closer in to start with, so we're going to kind of bring it in. And we have to come in more. The nice thing about the concerto turntable, there we go. Now we have another 1/2 inch to come in. And we came in just a little too far from our markings, and we want to come out There we go. That is it. Now we're using the 3 holes to line up with the 3 screws. Now we'll complete and adjust the azimuth, and then we'll sit down and do the listening test. Raise the arm up, get it into position next. Now we'll do the 2-point check. Angle's a little off. 0.1, same as 0.2. Has to twist out just a little bit. Spot on. Spot on. Okay, let's test our tracking force. As you can see, there's too much weight on the back. So we're going to lessen the weight by taking out one of the larger weights and putting in a thinner weight. And you'll see there's a decoupling right here. So let's do that right now. Take the back weight off. Keep my hand out of the way so you can see me work here. Take the thicker weight, see the difference? Now we'll put the thinner weight in here. And we'll put the end cap weight here. Now that's too heavy. So what we will do is we'll begin to move these back to get a basic feel. That's about 4 or 5 grams. That's about 3 grams. Now we're too light. Okay, and now let's dial it in. I use a my weight. Let's open this up. I have it turned on. We'll see the readout here. And I want to put this as close as I can to the edge of the LP and get a measurement. Just take our stylus protector off. Wow, 2.19. Now that doesn't happen very often. I'd like it to be a shade less. I like to be 2 grams to start with, so I'm going to twist this out. .08. .00. That's a good place to start. Okay, with that now set, we'll remove our weight. Remove our weight riser. Let's move our cartridge box off to the side. And for our listening test, we're going to keep all of our equipment here ready to use because we're going to swap in the other arm. Let's take this off. We use the bare bolt to dial in our geometry. Okay, let's wire in the Tonearm wires and set the azimuth. Be careful with that. End point there, hanging off the cartridge. We don't want to make any expensive errors. Now this goes into the phono stage, and then the FOS, we have the wires coming in the back from the phono stage to the line stage to set the azimuth. So I'll get down and wire this in. Okay, now we're going to put an LP on to set VTA. We use a Funk Acromat. This is the 5mm version. We'll get the clamp on in a moment. Now to set VTA, I'm just going to rough it out as level. So to do that, I'll use the bubbles to get an estimate of when the top of the Tonearm is level with the LP surface. Now what you're doing is you're adding a little bit of weight on this, so be careful. And we are almost level. I think we have to take the back down just a little bit. Loosen here. And there we go. That looks good. Now that's a good way to rough set your vertical tracking angle. You can use lasers and other devices, but for simplicity today, that gives us a initial dial in. Now, in between that, we had the FOS in the system. We did our test tone, and we've already set that. That's set to go. So we're ready to do a short versus long arm listening session. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp the record down. I'm going to move the tripod out of the way. I'm going to keep all of the equipment here so that we can easily put the long arm back on. We're going to use the first track from Ambasson, Tales from the Treetops, and let's see if we can hear a difference between the long and the short versions of the Tri-Planar Tonearm. Okay, we're just about ready to go. Now the camera position has been marked with tape. We have a second camera at the listening head position. We have the light marked on the floor, so we're ready to go. We'll start this up. Now let's do a test. Let me move the camera out of the way, and we'll turn the other camera on, and then we'll put this camera back in its place and swap arms.